So hi, I'm Marcel. I'm the general manager of PNZ. Um, we are an industrial manufacturing company. We manufacture coatings for wood, and it's been the history of this company for 52 years now to do this in the most sustainable way that we can possibly think of. And on the one hand, we are working for a very sustainable building material, like the only one for the future, probably, which is wood. On the other hand, we are the chemical industry, and chemical industry is about transformation of materials, and that means impact all along the value chain. So we are in a very impact-intensive industry, and we've been trying to do that not just sustainable in a way that, like, we have a packaging from ocean plastic or something. Our program is called PNZ 360-degree sustainability. And we've been doing things like CO2 compensation in scope 3 for many, many years now. We are located in the middle of a natural reserve area. So we very much care about air pollution and water pollution. Actually, our factory is built on a river that leads into another river that leads into the Danube, that leads into the Black Sea. And by the time it gets there, it's dead. The water is dead down there. So we definitely want to make sure that we do not play a part in water pollution. We've been very active in research. We do a lot of biochemical research also with regrowing raw materials. And we try to make like perfect industrial chemistry out of regrowing raw materials. Our location is very suitable for that because we're in the middle of a natural area. So there's a lot of rapeseed farms and a lot of raw materials around, like 30 kilometers away from where we are. And that has been our whole purpose for 52 years. That has not interested anybody probably for the first 45 years. We were like the bio wood coatings guys somewhere from a small village down there. And then I must admit, it was the Fridays for Future movement that created some sort of public attention, and people started feeling that it's important. And in that respect, of course, we've been certified. We have a lot of certifications, environment, quality, and that stuff. And 3 years ago, we decided to also go for B Corp as a certification. And for us, I must admit, we haven't learned much in terms of environment there, but we have learned a great deal about the other sectors of sustainability, like community and customers and that stuff. That was a blind spot for us, and that B Corp certification opened up a whole new realm of how to define sustainability and how to make something of it. And so now this year we're up for recertification. Let's see. I hope we can improve our score even further. It is that the B Corp movement does not have too many industrial manufacturers right now. So people come and make us talk about this stuff. But I think there is a growing sensitivity towards these issues. We're getting more and more requests from customers. They want to know our CO2 footprint. And they don't know what they're talking about and what they're asking for, but I'm happy that they do. So it means that it is relevant, has become relevant, and that's for us. That's very good. And we, as a company, we're operating we have a manufacturing site here in Germany and one in Vietnam, and we have taken all our sustainability standards from here and moved them to Vietnam. But we do local sourcing in Vietnam. So when we operate here with rapeseed oil, for instance, because it's available nearby, it will be more soy-based products there. Because the impact of delivery matters a great deal. So yeah, we have certified CO2. Yeah, we have a cradle-to-cradle certificate. We do a lot of these certifications, but the most important thing is that we believe that it's possible to make the chemical industry really 360 degrees sustainable, and we're working on that to make that happen in short notice. We have an idea of how to get there. That's perfect. That way.
Wow.
It is so great that you mentioned that you have realized the things that the B Corp community can give you and can make you realize in terms of impact, because what we're going to talk today, it is really related to this. So it is so great that you mentioned it.
Good.
Yes,
Good.
yeah, thank you very much, Marcel. Yeah, actually, that's pretty interesting what you said right there. No, like thinking about the impact like every action can have, even like here or like in Vietnam. All like that just process like
Mhm.
all like how the production that's like works and the circular economy. So yeah, I mean, this is like the kind of that people would like the company, B Corp companies would like to discuss stuff about, because it's like we when we talk about values, it's like we talk about these things also, and what we wanted to talk about here is like, for example, like these last years, specifically after the pandemic, there's like been like several studies like published by, I don't know, PwC or like big consulting companies, like about like how this, like these values, these purposes we're building as companies are like are shaping like the world of also the people that works with us, all of this environment.
Mhm.
And and that's also what like the B Corp movement is like talking about, how like you align this,
Mhm.
um align like your company values with like your employees one, employees values. And
Mhm.
like and right now at this moment we see like the organizational culture, the organizational values is playing like with like the stability of like our own company and also our companies and our workforce, and we're seeing like from Ethikos, because we are like a people and culture consultancy, we're seeing that like there's a big like turnover right now, like we talk a lot about like attrition, and people not feeling aligned, with like their work. I mean, specifically after the pandemic, like mental health was getting more important, even though it was there
Mhm.
all the time, and right now it's like something people decided like to say like, yeah, I'm living this world because it's like not aligned to my purpose. And
Isn't that terrible that you need that you need a cultural consultancy in the 21st century? That should be something that a company starts with, like a culture, an idea, and then
yes.
either you like it or you don't. But I know so many people who hate their jobs and they think they're working in vain and for nothing. It's terrible.
Yes, yes, and yes, definitely. It's like, I mean, you, for example, you're a vegan person, then you work like in a meat company. So it's
Mm,
like, but like I believe, like, I mean, we believe like the problem is like not that. It's like it starts in the hiring, and that's why like that's how we shape also our value, our culture values, no? And regarding all of that, like this motivation, people hating their jobs, like they're leaving their companies and not feeling aligned with the company. Also, the company losing a lot of money
mhm,
because, it's, of course, like they don't like feel the same purpose. We wanted to like that's why we wanted to interview our B Corps. Thinking about this, like because
mm,
you have you clear, like you in your mind, like we all have like clear what we want to, the impact we want in the world.
mhm,
So as the people
mhm,
we have inside our companies, do you like feel also the same? Do they want this for the words? Because at the end, this is like what will make them feel motivated and engaged to their
mhm,
culture. I mean, they will work better, have like better results for us. So it's like kind of shape the whole, the whole company as a whole. So that's why I wanted to start like asking you. Is like,
mhm.
regarding all of this, like what do you understand by like this organizational culture, like the culture of a company?
We are a small company, 50 people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just to give you one figure, we have 45,000 different articles in our system that we do. We everything we do. In Germany, we're the only coatings company who knows its CO2 footprint in scope 3, and we're like the smallest. The smallest knows, and the big ones don't. Um, and there is an organizational thing to it. It is, of course, you need to have an attitude and you need to have data, but most importantly, you have to organize getting this done, always being short-handed. And I think that is something that we have that's probably hard to replicate. We are very much in the middle of the countryside, and I feel that the people are totally different to metropolitan areas. You don't have to teach them that the environment matters, that you don't throw your garbage out of the car on the highway or something. They know. Um, And actually, our sustainability strategy was 2018, 4 years ago. We had a major reset of what we do, and it was initiated by our employees. They said, Marcel, your strategy is nice, and it's a very brainy strategy, and so on. Probably looks good at every university, but it's not who we are. We really want to make a difference here as a people that work here. And then we had our employees formulate our strategy, and that is the strategy we're still operating on. So we very much have a grassroots approach to it. We let our employees take care of the strategy of the company. The role of the management is more for horizontal relations between employees. So we see it completely the other way around as it's normally taught in management books. And for us, it works very, very well. Strategy, keep the management out of it. Management only spoils every reasonable discussion about strategy because they are driven by their own ambitions and goals. They try to impose their goals on the company as a strategy. Employees don't do that. They are different. They think about the company first. So I think culture is like the most important thing. I find it very hard to understand how you can change a culture. I admire companies that actually have a cultural change management process. I consider that to be very, very difficult because it's something that grows organically. It's a culture you can't have a presentation and say, this is our company culture, and then everybody off we go. You have to live that, and it has to evolve, and you have to make mistakes, and then we sit together and we discuss, hey, what have we done wrong? And then we say, okay, maybe we could do that better. And there is an evolutionary path and a trajectory to culture. And that is something that I really find very hard. It works perfectly fine for us. We are 50 people. I fear the day when we are 500. Because I'm not sure that this type of culture that we have would still work in a bigger way. You need more formalized processes, and you need management, and you belong to a department, and you report to somebody. Here nobody reports to nobody. We talk, and we check back with each other, we coordinate, but there's no reporting. We simply don't have that. And I hope that we can transfer that to the future, but it will be tricky. It will be a learning curve for us as well in that respect.
Yeah, we see it more or less. We see it in the same way, or at least that's what we try to communicate to partners we work with, because the culture of your organization is not something that you create from scratch and you like say we're going to do this, and this has to work this way. It doesn't work. It doesn't work like this. It's more like accidental, as you said, in the case of your company. There are the workers who work in a way, communicate in a way, behave in a way, have their own habits regarding environment that have created and have made your culture of your company like emerge from something that is really shared from all over all over the company and all of its employees. So we have one more question to add regarding this topic, and it is like, you as the CEO of the company, do you try to create like more initiatives or campaigns or dialogue sessions, whatever, to boost more the cultural thing that it is already happening in your company, or you leave it that way because you already see that it is working and you don't have to focus on this topic because maybe you have to focus more on other business things or whatever?
Of all the things we've done, also strategy workshops and taking the whole company to a hotel, spend a weekend there, that's nice from time to time. In my view, what mattered most in our company is we have a weekly get together, all employees, half an hour. And then we talk, and everybody who has something to say or something new mentions it. So we try to keep each other on the same page all the time, and we discuss stuff. And with hindsight, I would say this piece of intercompany communication was probably the most valuable one, because you learn the most. What's really important. It's not like it's not me holding a presentation and this is this and this is that. It's the people talking to each other. Of course, we have like KPIs, but it's not me introducing the KPIs. It's the people for who they're relevant who introduce the KPIs to the other guys and tell them, hey, we had a problem with whatever damages in the last week. Make sure, I don't know, let's look at the packaging again if it's correct. This type of groundwork and very practical things, I think, matters the most. We saw that in the Corona pandemic when we couldn't do it for nearly a year.
Yeah, sure. Yes.
And that was terrible.
Yeah.
We missed it. We missed it so much. It's totally different. Sending a newsletter to your colleagues is not the same as talking to them.
Yeah,
It simply isn't. We found out the hard way during the pandemic. So I believe this communication part and this being together part is utmost important. Is more important than any dedicated strategy that you could have.
Okay.
There's one more thing I want to mention. I don't know if it's of interest to you. I have the impression that this whole purpose movement is like exploding and growing over its head. Every company is talking about purpose, and we have a very clear statement. We have a purpose, and it's very practical, but we don't have a religion. It's not like we are not religiously going to mount purpose and pray to it every day, because that's not what helps. We try to see in a pragmatic way. There's something we want to accomplish, and we all work at it, but we don't try to overload it with emotion and feeling well. And I think that also helps a lot, because I have the impression that a lot of this purpose talk is not taken seriously by the employees. It's like, oh yeah, now we're having a purpose too, but it's not our purpose, it's the management's purpose or whatever. What they want us to have as a purpose. So I think the pragmatism of it is also quite important.
Yeah. One of our goals also is to battle and fight against this greenwashing of I have
terrible.
a purpose.
Yeah.
So we have a culture, so everybody's aligned with this. We work that way, everything is going to be fine. And our own purpose is to avoid, for example, working with companies that have this, that work in that way and have this speech, because it's not really aligned with what really matters and what really happens in the real life. Because you can have a purpose, but then behave in a very different way.
Yeah, which is
the other. Oh, sorry. The other day, and I'm just to bring that to a conclusion. The other day, I read ExxonMobil's sustainability strategy for the future. If you read it in detail, it's totally crappy, but they make a big fuss out of it. And I wonder whom they want to believe that crap. There is nothing that they do that lets me think they are really on the way to make chemistry sustainable. They just want to greenwash over that shit. And it
happens.
Yeah. That's too bad. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
No worries. It's like, we talk more like about, like, a lot of companies have like a purpose, but then at the end, like inside is different, and we talk more about like compromise, how we compromise with like something we want to do, like as a whole, no? Regarding that, I want to ask you another question, like, like, what do you like? What role do you think all of like this, what you told me, like this culture you've built, like this kind of, like horizontal way of like working, is like has an impact in your recruitment process? Because you told me you also have like you have like 50 employees, but like how does it have an impact, like recruiting them or like everything? Do you have to follow like a process regarding all of this, or can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, that's also had a huge learning curve for us. we try to hire for attitude. So we see people that we believe that would fit in to the other people. They don't have to be the same. They don't even have to have the same values or interests. But it's like this type of a nice, decent human being who wouldn't push his colleagues left and right to get ahead himself. This type of attitude, because I think you can train skills much better than you can train attitude. I must admit, I found it very, very hard, but now I know it's very important to fire fast. If you see that somebody is not willing to do what we do, I have totally underestimated the role that individuals can play in spoiling an organization. And then we had to fire 2 people like two or 3 years ago. And normally we don't fire. Like in the 52 years, I don't know how many people we fired, not many. But then we found out, we have to learn something. And we have to get much better at recruiting, because you need to fire fast, but you don't want to be a firing company. You want to be a hiring.
Of course, yeah.
And so we totally had to improve our process of taking people on board. And we have now switched to nobody will start to work here unless he has had a few trial days of working here. So he can get to know the colleagues and they can get to know him. And what we found is that actually the part where they can get to know us is even more important than the other way around. We find that people from big companies, they really have a hard time. Here when you need something, you go and get it. There's nobody who will do that for you.
You don't have to ask like four or five people above you.
One guy asked me, I have to travel, and then where's the form where I can like get approval for my travel? And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
Just go.
You travel and you don't travel first class, obviously. You travel and you travel when it's reasonable, but it's you who has to say if it's a good travel, the necessary one or not. And that a certain type of people like that very much. And people have spent many years in large corporations. They hate that. They see that as a sense of insecurity or stupidity. My company is stupid. They don't even have a travel office where I can book my travels or so. So I think this experience, the practical experience of people that want to join to see if it really suits them, has decreased our firing rate tremendously.
Well, it is related because several studies that have been published that Catherine was talking about before, you can find a close relation between the time a worker spends at a company and the way he or she is related to that culture and that way of working and whatever. So maybe giving these trials in your case is a good way to see if the connection is going well, if there's a fitting, and then this person can decide, because the high rotation has like 2 causes. Or you fire the employee because of he's not or she's not being productive, there's no like cultural fit or whatever, or is that person that before you fire them, they say, I'm not good here, I wanna leave because I don't feel well in this environment with these colleagues, with that way of working, maybe sharing not that purpose. So it is really interesting that you highlight this, because it is something that, as we said before, we tell our partners to really be aware of, because can have like really taxative, like can really affect the company in terms of employing people, well, in this case, firing people.
There's another thing that I'm interested in your experience. You have much more than we do. We have totally stopped years ago these annual personal development feedback talks. We've decided that we give feedback instantaneously. So I talk to everybody, I don't know, 10 times a year or so for a short period of time. That has, in my feeling, much more effect than once a year. And then I have a notebook and I say, well, in January, I saw you doing something wrong and you should really like not do it. I had the impression that these annual feedback talks don't have much impact. That you have to like instantly, feedback is instantly or you forget it. And if it's not important, then don't give feedback. How is your experience for you know many more companies than I do.
Well, regarding that, it's like, of course, it's different. Like a big company, like the smaller ones, sometimes like, and also like has a lot to do with like this, this culture we'll talk about and values, because what you say is like giving one talk once a year might not work in our kind of organization. If I like develop like and a strategy on how I want my culture to be, then maybe like one talk doesn't work at all. Definitely, there's so many places like it's just to show that you're doing it, So there's some strategies that maybe also like what regarding what like people is doing, their position will need like more or less, different kinds, because there are different kinds of doing it. It's not like the typical one. I give you a feedback what you do. It's like also it's more like it's way more than that. It's like it's deeper. It's not like it doesn't only include like the work environment too. So it's like, and also like I think it's about it changes depending on the kind of company, the amount, the kind of culture they have, like all the strategy they have built. So it's different. It's not the same one. And if you
Interesting.
Yeah, of course, we feel that, as you said, it is best to give feedback every day, but also sometimes people doesn't feel like really not comfortable, but is not really used to this, so they wait for the 6 month or once in a year feedback session to tell their colleagues what they feel about themselves, about themselves, about the company, whatever. But this is something like really funny, because when I was in university, I went to a really particular university with a really specific way of teaching. We didn't have like classes, teacher subjects. We worked through projects. We created our own real company, and we had to gain benefits through the projects we created inside in it. So the team working was, and the teamwork was something like that was every day of our, that every day we had it present in our lives. And one day one of our colleagues said the same as you said. It doesn't make really sense to wait 2 times in a year to give feedback to maybe something that I see that someone did the week before, so I'm going to complain or congratulate that person for this specific thing. Maybe if we tell each other things day to day, the good ones, the worst ones, the ones that you have to improve at, it is maybe better, and we will be more aligned, create a more like solid culture in terms of feedback. So yeah, our opinion is that this has to happen every day, but because of, for example, as Catherine said, the number of employees of a company, it's not that easy to make it happen.
Yeah, I feared so that you say that.
Yes, but also creating this communication culture doesn't need to, like sometimes there are ways, you can like build like a supporting team inside like big companies. So you can create this like communication culture, like communication space between your team, not specifically the people you're working the closest with. So also it's like around that. I mean, as you said, like you're like 50 now, and I mean you developed this really nice strategy. I mean, so it works for you. So that's something really great. And Victor, do you want to ask? Do you have another question?
Well, before closing, we had another question, but I think that we already talked a lot about culture. Also, we wanted to know the thing that Catherine asked before, that is how you do align your talent or new talent with your culture. That you explained this thing of the period of time they have like a trial of being in the company, getting to know their colleagues and everything. And Catherine, if you don't want to ask anything else, I would go for the last question.
Yes.
Also, because we don't have to steal a lot of your time, Marcel. So
No.
there it goes. And it is that regarding culture and talent, that are like the two main topics of this interview. What advice would you give to a company that wants to become a best for the world organization? Because of course we haven't said that, but we really think that having a good culture and managing your talent in a proper way can give you like more options, or will align you more to the purpose or the ethos of becoming a best for the world company. So what advice would you give them?
I had the discussion on the weekend. We had a few customers here, and it was the same question. Oh, you're a B Corp, and blah blah. How did you do it? And this is very difficult. We've tried it too, and it kind of failed. And they got me thinking. And I think actually the biggest problem that companies have is they try to rush things. Yeah, they have not done anything sustainably, and now they want to become like, I don't know, CO2 neutral within the next half year. And I imagine that to be super difficult because it goes against like your working processes, against your strategy that you had. We were lucky to have time. And even if we have a big research project now that is really, for us, is groundbreaking, we give ourselves the time. No, it's not going to be ready next year. It's going to take 3 years because good things take time. My advice would be don't rush anything. Go step by step. Whatever you want to do, even if it's not sustainable or whatever your strategies are, time is a super good filter for things that work and don't work. There's like the evolutionary principle in biology. Give yourself the time to fail. I'm not a friend of these fail fast strategies, actually, that I hear often. I think you have to learn something from your failures, and if you fail too often in a short period of time, you haven't learned anything. You just don't know that it doesn't work. So I guess time is the most valuable and the most scarce commodity in getting better. And eventually, you will be best of the world, or whatever you get a Nobel Prize or whatever. No Nobel Prize laureate started like a year ago before he got the prize.
That's for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
You agree?
I just want to say that we're really grateful. Actually, it's really interesting because I've been like around Munich several times, around Germany. I mean, most of it like in Cologne and in Munich, and I kind of know pretty well. And it's like I didn't know about like this initiative you're taking for already like for so many years, no? So it's really good to I really enjoyed this talk. We discover new things and how like people's managing culture and also how the impact they are having in like in our own spaces where we live our every day-to-day life. So I'm really happy we could have this conversation. Yep, we will keep in touch. Maybe my colleague Victor wants to say something.
Yes.
Yeah, we will keep in touch. Well, first, thank you, of course, for playing a part in this interview. And the playlist of interviews, we wanted to become like the first piece of something bigger that we want to create. Maybe not a study of culture and talent things inside bigger organizations, but more or less, we want to start with those interviews to discover things maybe we can go there and create an impact on. So of course we will keep in touch. We will update you with our work in this thing. Maybe it is not an interview, but we can keep like doing all the things that, as I was saying, we will
text me. That would be nice. I'm happy to hear back from you. Yeah.
Perfect. And well, of course, if you need anything from us, you know where can you find us. And I think that Catherine was copied in the emails, and if not, we can send a follow-up email now so we can have our all 3 email addresses there. And I don't know if you want to say anything else before we close this interview.
I'm good. Thank you very much. It's very interesting to talk to you. I'd be happy to hear more from you and also get insights from you. Because we are only here. We are only us. So we have very little connection to the outside world in terms of culture. So I'd be happy to learn from you as well.
Perfect, Marcel. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Marcel. It was such a nice talk. Have a really nice day. Auf Wiedersehen.
Have a nice day. Thanks. Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen. Ciao.